Florida's Turnpike. Yeah. Alright, we are talking Florida's Turnpike today, which takes you to swamps and suburbs. We're doing this for the Pro Bowl because that's going to be in the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, which we won't have a view of, but we will see other stadiums. Let's take a look at the Florida's Turnpike route. We see it goes from I-75, just south of Ocala, to the general Miami area, and then we got the Homestead extension, which we're going to look at too, which goes all the way down to US 1 on its way to Key West. You're watching Control City Freak. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about highways and the places that they're assigned to go to. If you dig this kind of content, why not give us a like? And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. Woohoo! All right, we got a Patreon going. There's lots of cool stuff going there. You can check that out. Thank you so much to the people who've already signed up. And you can also request exits with a $5 super sticker. We do have Alaska and Puerto Rico coming up not too long too. All right, let's take a look at southbound Florida's Turnpike. So Florida's Turnpike begins here on I-75. You're cruising down I-75 and you get 75 South Tampa. And we have our option for Florida's Turnpike, South Orlando. Everything makes sense. Well signed there. It is a Y intersection, so we get 3 lanes crossing the bridge, and here is what it looks like as we cross I-75. At a first mileage sign, we see our next exit 2 miles away, Orlando 55, and Miami 275 miles away. Florida, always bigger than you think. Hey Edwin, look, a Ron John surf shop billboard, randomly saw it. And we've got our first exit request. This is from Dallas Bittinger. He wanted to see US 301 for Wildwood. So thank you so much for that request. I really appreciate that. And he requested that on the Patreon. Now we're getting a welcome to Florida's Turnpike. The less stress way is how they are branding it. We have a service exit here for our first service plaza area. Here is what service plazas look like on Florida's Turnpike. And we get our next mileage sign. Orlando now 47 miles away. Miami still 267. At random interchanges, we are getting signs for Ocala and Miami. We haven't even reached Orlando yet, and we're already getting Miami. That's pretty amazing. And here we're getting good old US 27. And US 27 will go to the former home of the Royals spring training, amongst other probably more useful places. And this is our first Orlando area exit. We're getting 429, which is the Western Loop and a toll state highway, as Florida loves to do, especially in Orlando. It is signed for Apopka and Tampa because it will swing around to I-4 to get you to Tampa. This is also where you get off for Disney World, and that would be true of I-75 traffic as well. So you'd think they put a Disney World sign here, since lots of people from, Ohio, Michigan, whatever, are coming down I-75 to go see the mouse. Once you get off the exit, you do get a Disney World sign, but I didn't see anything on the turnpike itself. It's only the biggest tourist attraction in the world. Why sign it on the road that goes near it? And now we are getting Florida Highway 408, another toll road, and this one is kind of a lateral moving one. It will head toward downtown Orlando, which is why we are getting Orlando and Titusville as our control cities here. Now we meet I-4, probably the primary intersection of highways in the Orlando area, the Florida's Turnpike and I-4. I-4 signed for Tampa and Daytona Beach. And here's what it looks like as we cross I-4. We can see the Orlando skyline in the distance there. Now we're getting 528, 17, 92, 441. So many highways, we can't put any control cities on there. And kind of interesting that Florida Highway 528 gets first billing, but it is the Beeline Expressway, so it's kind of a major one, and it's going to go out to Cocoa Beach. 17, 92, and 41 are all the same road. They're all the Orange Blossom Trail. Here's what that exit looks like. It's a fairly complicated one. It's from the days of when there were real toll booths on this road, but this road, of course, is electronic tolling like pretty much everything else these days, and no cash allowed. And here we're meeting 417, which acts as the eastern loop around Orlando. So 417 also signed for Tampa and Daytona Beach, as well as the airport, and we see cash not accepted, just like at all of these things. And our next mileage sign, we're getting 192 for Kissimmee, Fort Pierce, 97 miles away. There's only 2 exits in between those two because we've got a huge swath of no exits coming up here. Miami still over 200 miles away. So here's our exit for 192 and 441. Yeah, we're seeing double. We just saw those roads a minute ago. It is signed for Kissimmee and St. Cloud, a fairly major suburb of Orlando. And our next mileage sign, we see we got Kissimmee Park Road, which I think is a new exit, only 4 miles away, but then 51 miles until the next one after that, and then we're getting Miami on the bottom line. So here's what it looks like as we cross the vast swamp area through central Florida. So we kind of end up darting from Central Florida to South Florida right here. And now we're getting Yeehaw Junction, exit 193. So this is one of the most remote exits in the entire system, which is weird because Florida is such a populated state. But this one, either here to Orlando or here to Fort Pierce, is the longest section of highway in America with no exit, to my knowledge. And this exit was requested by Kenny Latham, so thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that request on the Patreon. He used to get from Fort Pierce to Orlando by going through Yeehaw Junction and taking Route 60 to visit grandparents in Orlando on the Turnpike. And we'll talk more about this on the northbound side. Right after Yeehaw, we're getting 40 miles to Fort Pierce. That is our next exit, and then Miami 159. So here we come to Fort Pierce and Okeechobee and Florida Highway 70, and this is kind of the start of the South Florida-ish area, but we're still at exit 152, so 152 more miles to go. Although we will be south of Miami by the time it's all said and done. And we see next exit 10 miles, so there's still not going to be a lot of exits one after another for a little while here. Right here we go under I-95, but of course we don't have an intersection for it because, why would you want to do that? We can make more money if we can't connect people to 95. And now we've got a request from Jeff Banks. He wants to see this exit for Stuart, Florida on Florida Highway 714. So thank you so much for that request. He requested that on the Patreon. Really appreciate that. Thanks. And now we're going under I-95 once again, so that happens a lot. Now we have a long section where we are directly next to I-95, so that is the northbound lanes to the left of us, and that's I-95 further left of that. So, no intersection whatsoever with 95, at least not direct, kind of following the Pennsylvania school of highway planning down here. Here at exit 99, we're getting Okeechobee Boulevard, and this would be the primary exit for West Palm Beach, which is a pretty big city, so you'd think they'd mention it on the overhead sign, but they don't. Now we're getting US 98, the southernmost US highway, and Southern Boulevard, a fitting name for it. When I said 98 southernmost, of course I mean southernmost east-west one. And now we meet Florida Highway 869, the Sawgrass Expressway, another local toll road. And this exit was requested by Lemon, so thank you so much for that request. I really appreciate that. Continuing down, we're going to meet 595 and 441. And so we've got express lane exits for 595, and we've got regular lane exits for 595, all kinds of stuff going. Here is how you get onto 595 if you don't want to take the express lanes. They're not going to bother giving us any control cities, but they would be Fort Lauderdale and I suppose Naples because it's ending at I-75, although Tampa might be a better way. From down here, Naples would be the way to go. If you were going to Tampa, you would have changed gears in Orlando. And now is where the Turnpike is going to split into multiple parts. We've got South Florida's Turnpike for the Homestead extension, signed for Homestead, and Stadium and Miami via I-95. They don't bother putting the name on the stadium. I understand Joe Robbie Stadium has had so many names, it's not really worth trying to keep track of what its name is this week. And here we are meeting Northwest 199th Street and the stadium, so it's a little ways out of town if it's at 199th Street. This is Miami Gardens, Florida. And here is a look at the stadium. Like I said, this is not where the Pro Bowl is going to be played. That's going to be in Orlando, but this is a lovely stadium because this is where the Chiefs won Super Bowl 54. So it'll always have a place near and dear to my heart for sure. At the end of this main part of Florida's Turnpike, now we're going to get 95 and 441 straight ahead with the option to get off at Florida Highway 826 for beaches or for west, but they're not going to give us any control cities. So we're going to double back and act as if though we never went toward the stadium and I-95 and get back onto the Homestead extension. So this is South Turnpike Homestead. We have University Drive here. I'm not sure which university. We're pretty far away from the U. At random interchanges, Florida's Turnpike is signed for Homestead, which, I feel like Key West would be better. Now we're getting a detailed sign about I-75 express lanes, so you can get in these Lexus lanes coming off a ramp coming soon, and it's telling you what the tolls are going to be, and it's digital, so obviously they can change the price of the tolls at any given time, which I assume they do based on how many people are on it. Here's where we actually meet I-75, so I-75 South Miami. If you were going to Miami, there's no way you'd be getting on I-75 here. You would have taken a number of other routes. You would have not be taking I-75. South Turnpike, Homestead, and to Key West, so we get a Key West sign there. Also North 75 Naples, kind of get it, but Fort Myers or Tampa would be better. Here's what it looks like on I-75. We get Turnpike for Fort Lauderdale and Homestead. So it's signed for Fort Lauderdale, which kind of makes sense because of that 595 junction. Right here in this area, the Turnpike is going through quite a boundary sort of thing. You can't quite see it here, but to the left It is nothing but suburbia and sprawl, and to the right, nothing but swamps. So right here is the absolute dividing line of Miami Metro and swampland. Continuing south, we are meeting another toll state Florida highway, and we are signed for Homestead and Key West. For these, we are only getting the 8th Street and 12th Street things, not telling us that these will take us, the eastbound one will take us into Miami. This is a wild ramp. I've never seen anything quite like this before. This is a through lane entrance. So this ramp to get off of the turnpike just keeps you on the turnpike. I think there might be a little extra toll involved, but it just goes around this interchange. Here's a look at it. If you look at that blue line there, that's that ramp. It just takes you from the turnpike back to the turnpike. And here we are crossing US 1, which we will meet again shortly. And we're almost running out of road here. We've got exit 2 for Campbell Drive and West 312th Street. Wow. And we see our exit 1 is for US Highway 1 North, Florida City, and South Key West, keep left. We will merge right into it, just like I-95 does. And here we loop over US 1, and we'll be joining it soon. And nicely, we do get a nice end Florida Turnpike sign, so that's nice of them there. Let's turn around and head northbound on Florida's Turnpike. So we're going to start down here on US 1, and we see Florida's Turnpike is signed north for Orlando and Miami both, because down here we are pretty south of Miami. If you wanted to go to Miami, you don't want to take 8,000 stoplights on US 1, you want to take the Turnpike right here. At random interchanges though, we are getting North Turnpike for Orlando. And now we're meeting Highway 874, and it is a diagonal that will head to 826 and take you toward Miami proper. So that's why this is signed for Miami, and we are signed north for Miami International Airport and Orlando. This is exit 17. I feel like we haven't come 17 miles yet. Now we are meeting 826 for Miami International Airport. It will take you into Miami as well. And we've got our friend US 41 here. Although we haven't done the southern US 41 yet, we will get there, don't worry. Here is our actual split for the airport. So 826 east for the airport and for the city. They're not telling you that, but if you were going to the city, you would have gotten off earlier. And we are now signed for Fort Lauderdale and Orlando, which does make sense. We're meeting I-75, and here is a hilarious I-75 sign. I don't know what they're doing here, but this is pretty bad shape. I don't know why they got that tiny one and just glued it up there. And on I-75, we get North Florida's Turnpike, toll by plate, keep right. And now we're meeting the other part of the turnpike, the little stub that goes down to I-95. We are seeing that again here. So we're seeing it signed for a stadium in Miami, North Florida's Turnpike, Orlando, straight ahead. And here we are looping on to Florida's Turnpike from Florida's Turnpike. And now we're meeting 595 once again, so we get this whole express lane thing. At random interchanges, we are signed north for Orlando, and southbound would be Miami, because it's signed for Orlando and Miami here. And now we've got a laundry list of exits with a final control city instead of the third exit that they would normally do in this situation. 197 miles, still a ways to go. And here we get 116 for Jupiter, Florida. I believe you could get to I-95 by getting off here, but there are no signs telling you can get to I-95 from this whatsoever. I looked for a ways. And here we are right next to I-95 once again, so our northbound lanes are between the carriageways of southbound Florida's Turnpike and southbound 95. This next exit, 152, they do tell us we can get off for I-95, but they've collected a few extra bucks in tolls here. They could have told us at the last exit. And exit 152 is for Fort Pierce and Vero Beach, and our next exit will not be for 41 more miles, which will be Yeehaw Junction. This, I think, is the only part of Florida's Turnpike that I've taken before. I think I took 95 up to this part of Florida's Turnpike and then took that over to Yeehaw, or Miami-Tampa trip. So here we go, Yeehaw Junction, 41 miles away, Orlando 112, quite a distance between them. And here we get exit 193 for Yeehaw Junction, and Jeff Banks did want to look at Yeehaw Junction, so thank you so much for that, and we're going to take a closer look at Yeehaw Junction. So, Yeehaw Junction is not really in great shape. It used to be a place where people on the way to Orlando from Miami would stop to get discount tickets to Disney and other Orlando attractions, and this Desert Inn was one of the places. This is actually on the Florida State Historic Registry. It has its own Wikipedia article, and this is what it looked like in 2018. But shortly after that, a semi-truck blasted right into it. It ended up looking like this, what it looked like in 2020. So pretty bad shape here. And if we were to take a look at it now, it looks pretty much the same. They haven't done anything in the years since this truck has crashed into this building. It's kind of just sitting there. Here's what I mentioned where you could buy discount tickets for Orlando attractions. They had a few different places like this. This is what it looked like in 2009 with our nice Florida sign. But by 2011, it had obviously closed and fallen into disrepair. And by 2020, this is all that was left of what that used to be. They just kind of let it, I don't know, just disintegrate over the years, it seems. All right, let's get back onto the road. Enough Yeehaw Junction. So we see Kissimmee 54 miles away and Orlando 67. And we've passed those two long stretches of no exits, and we are back in proper Central Florida. So here we're getting Kissimmee St. Cloud 192 441. And now we're getting 417, the Eastern Loop, the toll route, because they're all toll routes in Orlando, for Tampa and Daytona Beach. At random interchanges now, we're getting North Turnpike, Ocala, and South Turnpike, Miami. The Miami one, yes. The Ocala, come on. Go with Gainesville. It's not that much further, much bigger, more famous. You got the university there. And we are meeting I-4 once again. I-4 predictably signed for Orlando and Tampa. It was not signed for Orlando the other way, coming from the southbound direction, but from the northbound, if you did want to go to downtown Orlando, you are better off getting to I-4 first. And here's good old US 27 again. I skipped the other Orlando area, Florida State Highway toll roads. And US 27 is right near the Villages, but it is not signed on this sign, which I'm kind of okay with. And here is a golf cart bridge across the Turnpike for the Villages. And Owen Suhi wanted to see this. He requested this on the Patreon, so thanks so much. I really appreciate that. The Villages, I mean, I'm not old enough to live there anyway, but I'm not really a big fan of any of these prefab sort of gated places. I like the whole golf cart aspect, but not my scene for sure. And we do get the Villages sign, exit 304. That's going to be our Wildwood exit once again. And here we go, exit 304, 301. This is the last main exit on the Turnpike, 304 miles. That's quite a distance. Like I said, Florida always sneaky big. And now we're going to be merging with I-75 for Ocala. And I guess, we do have 307 is considered a Florida Turnpike exit. We are getting that exit right as we ramp onto 75. So Inverness, Wildwood. And that Wildwood exit, by the way, that one is free. You can go from I-75 to the Wildwood exit 304 without having to pay a toll. The tolls begin after that. All right, let's take a look at Todd's the way it should be for Florida's Turnpike. I'm going to say southbound, it should be Orlando, just like they do, then Miami, just like they do. I would get rid of Homestead. It's not that big of a suburb. It's probably most famous for Hurricane Andrew back in '92. I would go with Key West. Everybody knows Key West, and Key West is where US 1 goes. Cool place to sign. Northbound, I would say Miami from the beginning, because like I said, you're not going to want to take all the suburban traffic through US 1. You're better off on the Turnpike, much faster. Then Orlando after Miami. I am okay with the Fort Lauderdale signage, but I think that's probably a better secondary at that point. Orlando should be the primary, which is what they do. They do sign that part well. I would not do Ocala. I would go straight for Gainesville because, the university and just more famous. All right. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. I really appreciate it. And we will be back for the Vegas Spectacular for Las Vegas Boulevard. Super Bowl week. I'm excited. I have no idea if the Chiefs are in it at the time of this recording, but I certainly hope they are, but maybe they're not. I don't know. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, my name is Todd, and keep on trucking.